Another way people tried to teach the tunes was to have one choir master with a good memory waving his wrists around to indicate what direction the tune was going in. Clearly, the need to find some kind of written aid for the memory was becoming a pressing priority for the musical monks of medieval Europe. By the time the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne ordered his codification and revising of the Gregorian chant in around 800, a crude system of squiggles and symbols had begun to emerge, which were to be the forerunners of proper musical notation. These were called neumes. To find out exactly what a neume is, we need to visit the heart of Charlemagne's Holy Roman Empire. In the foothills of the Swiss Alps lies one of medieval Europe's greatest centres for the copying and dissemination of chants, the Abbey of St. Gallen. It was totally rebuilt in the 18th century, as you can see from this spectacular Baroque library, with its delicate and super shiny floor. Even then, though, they were aware of the amazingly precious and rare medieval manuscripts from the time of Charlemagne that were in their possession. Hi. Fantastic. This 1200-year-old book is the earliest surviving example of Christian Europe's attempts to write music down. It's also extremely fragile. Now, if you look above the Latin text here, you'll see various lines, marks, and symbols, almost like some kind of shorthand. Well, these are the neumes, and neumes are a primitive attempt to show the contour and shape of the melody you're supposed to be singing above these words. Neumes come in a huge variety. Every region of Europe, practically every monastery even, has its own particular style of neume. These St. Gallen ones here look like French acute, grave and circumflex accents. Indeed, some scholars think that's how neumes originated in the first place. Another explanation is that they are graphic representations of hand signals and gestures that a conductor might use to show singers what note to sing next. Now, looking at the neumes themselves, the ordinary single note is often represented by just a dot, like in Morse code here. If you want to sing a note that goes ah, that's one note followed by another going upwards, then you'd use this sign, which looks like a tick or a grave accent followed by an acute accent. This sign here that looks like a croquet hoop is in fact the opposite of that, a note followed by the one below it. Ah. So you see, there is a sort of logic to it. But neumes have a fatal flaw. They give you the outline of the melody you're singing, but they don't tell you where you're starting from, nor how the different tunes relate to each other. Neumes are a bit like a map, which has the shape of the roads on it, but none of the road names or numbers. A map without north, south, east, or west. Pretty unhelpful, really. Unless, of course, you already know the tune you're singing and you just want to jog your memory. That's what neumes are best at, reminding you of a tune you already know, not showing it to you for the first time. The inadequacy of neumes was a problem for all the abbeys and cathedrals of Europe. Then, out of northern Italy, came the Big Bang, an idea that turned the humble neumes into agents of dynamic change. And this was that big idea, a thin red line. The red line acted as a fixed reference pitch for the notes to lock onto. Now you knew where your tune started and where it ended, simply by looking at where the notes were in relation to the red line. This is a hymn to St. Cecilia, the patron saint of music. And what you're looking at in this 900-year-old manuscript is the moment frozen in time where Western music took its first great leap forward. A thin red line. We don't know who thought of it first, but we do know who saw its significance and potential and put it on the musical map. His name was Guido Monaco, and legend has it he may have ended his days in this monastery of Fonte Avellana in northern Italy. Now, a modest red line may not seem all that remarkable at first glance, but it is nonetheless music's equivalent of the printing press or sliced bread. It's therefore about time we found out a bit more about the geezer who was responsible for it, Guido of Arezzo. History hasn't left us too many clues about Guido Monaco, Guido the monk, except that his reputation as an innovative singing teacher led to his being headhunted by the Bishop of Arezzo. Guido came here to work in about 1020. Thanks to his revolutionary methods, his fame spread across Christian Europe. The fact that Guido, the man who gave us musical notation, is hardly a household name can hardly be blamed on Arezzo, the handsome Tuscan university town where he lived and worked for many years. Despite the fact Arezzo has quite a few famous sons to celebrate, the poet Petrarch, the Renaissance biographer Vasari, and the artist Piero della Francesca, to name but three, they haven't forgotten their lone musical genius. Indeed, in the late 19th century, in a burst of civic pride, they rediscovered him in a big way. Alas, much of the 19th century Guidoniana doesn't bear much historical scrutiny. This house, for example, proclaims proudly that Guido was born and worked here. One of the few things about his life that scholars can now say for certain is that neither statement is in fact true. One thing we can be sure of is that Guido came here, because this ruin of foundations is all that's left of the cathedral he worked in the 1020s. They built another cathedral a century later on the opposite hill. This building was demolished in the 16th century by Cosimo de' Medici to show the people of Arezzo how jolly macho he was. It was in this building that Guido set up a choir school, soon to become famous throughout Italy. Broadly speaking, his methods are still in use today. Guido's choristers, who sang here in this very building every day, were the first people ever to read music at sight from the page. That someone could sing a tune they'd never heard before simply by looking at squiggles and dots on paper was considered one of the great marvels of the time. Guido wrote two medieval blockbusters on the teaching of singing. The most influential, Micrologus, he wrote here in Arezzo. In them, he demonstrated his new lined method of notation that made the reading of notes utterly simple and clear. His biggest idea was the washing line principle. He drew one straight red horizontal line, like that. And he called this F. He said this would always represent the note F. So he put an F at the front of it like that. Now nowadays we'd call that a clef, French word for key, and Guido invented it. So a blob on the line meant sing the note F, La, and a blob above the line meant sing the next note up, La, G, and a blob below the line meant sing the note below, E, La. Now, I know this seems fantastically simple to us, but then so does the wheel, and it took mankind a long time to figure that out. Eventually, he added another line in fetching yellow above it, which represented the note C, and a third line between the two which represented the note A, and the spaces between them were G and B. So you had F, G, A, B, C. And here are those lines copied out in a copy of his book, Mycologus. And all you had to do was follow the blobs on the washing line, grazie Roberto, and you could read the notes one after another, easy as pie. La da dee la 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 dee 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 dee.